Thank you for joining. In the previous 4 lessons, we covered everything related to explicit and implicit model validation, including custom model validation. To conclude this topic in this lesson, we will implement custom model validation with multiple properties, also known as cross-property validation. A few lessons ago, when we implemented predefined properties like password and confirm password provided by the framework, the validation with multiple properties was actually implemented at the time. I just didn't mention it then. This part of the code is utilizing this approach, where the compare attribute takes the password property as a parameter and then internally sends it into the constructor of the compare attribute. Inside, the framework logic using reflection with validationContext object instance compares the password and confirm password properties. So this part is easy to accomplish since all is done by the framework. In this lesson, based on these 3 custom model validation properties and their attributes that we implemented in the previous lesson, we will follow the same approach for multiple properties validation, also known as cross-property validation. For that, I will uncomment the first example with the default error message and comment out the attribute we used before. However, you can choose any of them. I just want to show an example with both attribute versions, one without the default error message and one with it. Now we need to pass references to the properties we are going to implement into the constructor of the limited time offer attribute. The first one will be the credit card used property, and the second one will be credit amount. Now we have 3 arguments to be dispatched into the constructor. Let's open Postman for a better understanding. We will send these 2 values to the attribute named limited time offer, which decorates the transaction date property. The limited time offer attribute will receive the value of the transaction date, which is the date in Postman, into the Isvalid method as a parameter. Additionally, it will receive these 2 values, and it will also get the argument number 1. Thus, 3 values will go into the attribute class constructor, and the value of the attribute we sent from Postman will go into the Isvalid method and be assigned to the value parameter. In the limited time offer attribute class, we can manipulate this data and use it as we want. Now let's configure the constructor of the limited time offer attribute to receive 2 additional arguments from properties credit card used and credit amount. The first parameter will be of type string, and let's name it credit card used property name. The second parameter will also be of type string, and we can name it credit amount property name, in accordance with the model property names. For both of them, we need 2 class properties with get accessors, and by pressing Ctrl period, we can quickly achieve it. Next, we will need to use the ValidationContext, and its main purpose is to provide access to information about the object being validated and the validation process itself using object type getProperty. Inside the if check, we create 2 variables to access the ValidationContext. The first variable will be credit card property and will hold the value of the credit card used property name. The second variable will be credit amount property and will hold the value we receive from the credit amount property name. Just to remind you, this approach we are using to access both variables' properties is called reflection. After executing these lines, credit card property and credit amount property will hold references to property info object, representing the credit card used and credit amount model properties of the object being validated. The next step is to add one more if condition. This condition needs to verify that both variables contain some value and are not null. Inside this if check, since property info is available, once again using reflection, we can retrieve values for both credit card property and credit amount property. Inside the getValue method, we need to pass ValidationContext object instance. To store these values, we will use 2 variables, credit card used and credit amount. Next, there will be one more check to verify if the conditions meet the required values, such as the credit card type used, together with the credit amount, to confirm it's not null and that the credit amount is within an acceptable limit. If so, the final if check will verify the required condition to provide an error if necessary or success if the if check passes the test. We also need the return statement, which provides an error message in accordance with the if check. Therefore, we need to provide a message in case invalid data types or missing properties for credit card used and credit amount were provided. Let's open Postman. In the previous lesson, we triggered an error. In this lesson, I will include the required data to trigger success. When we send the request, we will receive a successful reply. With this lesson, we conclude the main part of the model state validation. However, we will revisit this subject from time to time during our project. In the next lesson, we will continue with the Planets project implementing other controllers. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to comment below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more great coding content. Stay updated with the latest videos by ringing the notification bell. Happy coding!